determined look that stopped everyone in their tracks. Fans are already calling it the moment that rewrote the rules, the proof nobody saw coming. The evidence Kirk thought he had buried forever. Whispers turned to gasps as Karlie flipped open the envelope, revealing messages, bookings, and even audio clips that paint a picture of a double life more intricate than anyone imagined. Rashida was reportedly left speechless, tears threatening to fall as the cast froze in stunned disbelief. And while Kirk sat across from her, he didn't flinch. He just stared at the table like he was bracing for the final blow. Now the internet is on fire, with fans shouting, "This changes everything," across social media threads. Was this Karlie's moment of truth? Or did she push things too far? Stay tuned, because what we're hearing could redefine every relationship. On the show, the crew was just finishing up a routine scene when Karlie Redd stepped onto the lot with a quiet confidence no one expected. It wasn't the usual playful sass or dramatic strut she often brought to the show. Was different. Her eyes were steady, her posture unshakable, and in her hand, she held a simple manila envelope that seemed to carry the weight of the world. Whispers rippled through the cast as she made her way to the lounge area where Kirk Frost sat talking quietly with Bambi. Rashida hovered nearby, face calm but eyes guarded, as if sensing the storm about to break. Karlie didn't pause. She walked straight to the center of the room and placed the envelope on the coffee table with deliberate precision. The thud of it landing echoed in the sudden silence. Kirk looked up, brow furrowing, while Bambi's hand flew to her mouth. Rashida took a step forward, her gaze locking onto the envelope as though it had suddenly become radioactive. Without a word, Karlie opened it and pulled out the first Documenta photograph. It showed Kirk standing next to a woman neither Rashida nor any of the cast had ever seen. Not touching, but the way the bodies angled toward each other suggested a familiarity too close for innocuous conversation. She held it up for everyone to see. "This isn't just gossip," Karlie said softly, voice cutting through the tension. "This is proof." As the camera captured every reaction, Rashida's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widening. Kirk leaned forward, hands resting on his knees as if bracing for impact. The rest of the cast circled around, forming a loose ring. Curiosity and dread mixed in their expressions. Karlie laid down more papers, flight itineraries for trips Kirk had never mentioned, hotel receipts under an alias, and a printed screenshot of text messages that hinted at late-night rendezvous. Each paper she placed felt like another brick in the wall, closing in on Kirk's carefully constructed facade. "I got these weeks ago," she continued, "but I held on to them. Thought maybe it wasn't my place. But after what I saw in the trailer, I realized some truths deserve the light." Rashida's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away, trying to stay composed. "Karlie, why are you doing this here?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why now?" Karlie met her gaze. "'Cause you deserve to know, Rashida. You deserve the truth before anyone else." Kirk's lip quivered, but he didn't speak. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of equipment being set down around them. Bambi cleared her throat. "This is a lot," she said, voice soft. "We need to be careful how we handle it." But Karlie shook her head. No more waiting. Not after last night's footage. Not after Rashida left the set in tears. This changes everything. Words sent a shiver through the room. Fans online had already started piecing together rumors. But seeing it play out live made it impossible to pretend it was just drama for ratings. The tension felt disturbingly real. Mimi, who'd been watching from the side, stepped forward. "We need context," she urged. "Let's hear from Kirk." Kirk swallowed, standing slowly. He looked at each paper, then at Rashida, then back at Karlie. His voice came out low. I didn't want you to see this." He glanced at Rashida. "I never meant for it to get like this." "Then explain," Rashida whispered, voice tight. "Explain why my husband's life is up for public display right now." Kirk's eyes flicked to Karlie, then back to Rashida. I thought I could keep things separate. My mistakes from my marriage, but I was wrong. Rashida's shoulders shook. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she stared at Kirk. But you lied to me, she said, voice breaking. Like you lied to our kids? Karlie watched, expression unreadable. She didn't celebrate. She simply observed the truth unfold. As Kirk stood there, head bowed, the cast drifted closer. Rashida sank to her knees, folding into herself as the emotional weight became too much. Crew members hovered, unsure whether to intervene, but production let the moment play out. Reality TV had captured raw moments before, but this felt different. It was unfiltered heartbreak. Kirk knelt beside Rashida, gently touching her shoulder. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I'm so sorry." Her tears fell freely now. She looked up at him, eyes searching. "Sorry doesn't fix receipts." Camera captured every tear, every tremor in her voice. Fans watching at home would later rewind those moments, debating Kirk's sincerity, Rashida's pain, and Karlie's role as truthbringer. After what felt like an eternity, Rashida pushed herself up. She wiped her face roughly. "I need air," she said, shoulders heaving. Without another word, she turned and walked out of the room. Leaving Kirk and Karlie behind, Kirk stood motionless, watching her go. The envelope lay open on the table, paper scattered like fallen leaves. Karlie bent down, picking up a page, then paused, looking at Kirk. "You ready to face what's next?" she asked quietly. Kirk nodded slowly, voice husky. "I'm ready." The rest of the cast gathered around them, forming a circle of uneasy solidarity. Whatever happened next, they knew they'd all be part of it, willingly or not. Outside the set, Rashida leaned against the wall, shivering despite the warmth of the afternoon. Her phone buzzed with missed calls from Kirk, texts from friends. Despite her pain, she felt a strange clarity. The truth had set her free from illusions, but it also left her exposed, vulnerable. Inside, production called a break. The cameras stopped rolling, but echoes of the confrontation lingered. Crew members exchanged hurried whispers while assistants moved the papers away, packaging the moment for the editors to weave into the upcoming episode. By the time the sun dipped below the Atlanta skyline, the aftermath was everywhere. Fan pages posted screenshots of the receipts Karlie had dropped, calling it the final proof that changed everything. Hashtags like #LastReceipt trended, and social media influencers dissected every frame, speculating on Rashida's next move, Kirk's redemption arc, and Karlie's unexpected role as the one who dared to end the secrets. As the night deepened, Rashida texted Karlie. She didn't know what to say. Anger, pain, gratitude, all tangled in her heart. Karlie's reply came quickly. "You deserve the truth, always." And in that moment, something shifted. The season's narrative had been rewritten not by trailers or sneak peeks, but by a single envelope and a woman brave enough to open it. The fallout would echo through every episode to come. And love and hip-hop Atlanta would never be the same again. As cameras cut away from Rashida's stormy exit, Kirk remained standing in the middle of the lounge, envelope in hand, the final receipt pressing cold against his palm. The hum of the set crew ticking off cal sheets and gathering equipment felt distant to him, like he was watching his own life fall apart in slow motion. Karlie circled back, standing a few feet away, her arms crossed, eyes steady despite everything she'd just revealed. Behind them, Bambi hovered uncertainly, unsure whether to console Rashida or stay loyal to Kirk's side. "This don't feel real," Bambi murmured, stepping closer to Karlie. "We've seen drama club fights, shouting, tears, but nothing like this." Karlie nodded, folding her arms tighter. "This is beyond TV," she replied. "These are lives we're talking about. Real feelings, real fallout." Meanwhile, Kirk dropped the envelope onto the coffee table, papers fanning out around the printed receipt that Karlie had labeled last proof. He sank onto the love seat beside the table, head in hands, shoulders shaking as if the weight of his mistakes were physical stones crushing him. Production Assistant Claire hovered just off camera, unsure if she should intervene or give them space. She glanced at the monitor where directors debated whether to roll the cameras again or call a break. Ultimately, they decided to stay on. This moment was too potent to miss. The network wanted raw emotion, and here it was, unfiltered and painful seconds, turned into minutes until Kirk finally rose, voice hoarse. "I have to explain," he said, turning to face everyone. Each word felt forced, like he was mining courage from an empty pit. "That woman in the picture wasn't what you think." Rashida stiffened, tears flashing in her eyes again. Bambi's breath caught. Karlie watched, arms still crossed, waiting for Kirk's next move. "Listen," Kirk continued, fiddling with his wedding band. "We had a falling out years ago. I went there to talk it out, to clear up misunderstandings. I never meant for those trips to look like secrets. I thought I could handle it. The room stayed silent. Fans would later debate whether that explanation rang true. Some thought it sounded plausible, two old flames hashing out mistakes. Others saw it as a weak cover-up, another lie tacked on to a mounting pile across set. Mimi and Spice stood together, arms linked for support. Spice shook her head slowly. "Never seen someone lie so convincingly," Spice muttered. Mimi frowned, looking at Kirk's retreating back. "Convincing or desperate?" she replied. "He's trying anything to save face now." As Kirk spoke, Rashida took several steps back, drawing a line between them. "You think I deserve that story?" she demanded, voice rising yet still controlled. "Story or no story, you lied. You'll let me stand there thinking everything was fine? While you were living another life?" Tears rolled down Rashida's cheeks, her voice cracking. She glanced at Karlie. "I trusted you too," she said, directing the moment toward Karlie. "You held these receipts for months, and I'd give them to me in private. I wait until everyone was here." Karlie's jaw tightened, and she took a deep breath. "Because you needed to feel this," she answered. "You needed the world to see it, to understand I wasn't playing games. Sometimes the truth needs an audience to break through denial." Rashida's lips quivered. She stared at Karlie for a moment before looking away. "Maybe you're right," she said softly. "Maybe I needed everyone to see." She wiped her tears and squared her shoulders. "But now that they have, what do we do?" Kirk swallowed hard. He glanced at Bambi, who shook her head almost imperceptibly. He turned back to Rashida, voice low. "Whatever you want. I'm here. For it." When he spoke, his tone was earnest. But whether it carried sincerity or self-preservation depended on who was listening. Bambi stepped forward, placing a hand on Rashida's arm. "You set the pace," she said gently. "We'll follow you." Rashida nodded, exhaling a shaky breath. The cameras captured that moment of solidarity. It's a possible sign of healing in the wreckage. Production called for a short break to reset. The next scene, crew members moved in to clear the table and gather the receipts. Directors huddled with writers, debating how to weave this emotional apex into the upcoming episode. They knew they had struck raw nerve, the kind of storyline that turns casual viewers into loyal fans. As the set cleared, Rashida willingly stayed behind with Karlie and Kirk. The trio stood in a small circle, the envelope now empty on the floor. Trio of truths lay open between them, an unspoken question hanging in the air. Can this family of 3 wives and 1 husband find a way forward? Karlie broke the silence. "First, the receipts are gone," she said quietly. "But the truth stays." She watched Rashida's reaction, hoping it would offer closure or at least a starting point. Rasheed looked at Kirk, eyes still wet but determined. "I don't know if we can come back from this," she admitted. "But I know I need honesty every single day now. No more shadows." Kirk nodded, pulling Rashida's hand gently. "I promise to give you that honesty," he said. "From now on, no more secrets." Bambi and Mimi, having stayed nearby to support Rashida, offered small smiles. Their presence reminded fans that no one fights bigger battles alone. Friendship and loyalty play vital roles. As the emotional dust settled, the cast regrouped to continue filming smaller scenes. The laughter and playful banter returned slowly, but there was a new undercurrent of respect and caution. Everyone knew boundaries had shifted online. Reaction videos and clips of the last receipt moment exploded across platforms. Viewers debated Kirk's sincerity, praised Rashida's bravery, and lauded Karlie for her decisive action. Forums lit up. Team Rashida all the way. Kirk needs to prove himself. Karlie is the real MVP. By the time the day wrapped, the set felt lighter yet profoundly changed. The envelope was gone, the receipts collected for evidence, but the impact remained. Seasons would be defined by moments like this, raw, unfiltered, and real. As cameras finally powered down for the night, Karlie walked out hand in hand with Bambi, their friendship stronger for what they'd endured together. Kirk walked beside Rashida, silent but resolute. And behind them, the empty set stood like a witness to the power of truth and to the cost of hiding it for too long. Karlie left the set tucked beneath dusk's fading light, her mind still racing from the intensity of the confrontation. Inside, the crew moved to reset for the next scene. But most of them were talking in hushed tones about everything they'd just witnessed. Talk turned quickly to the footage the cameras had captured, every tremor in Rashida's voice, every flicker of guilt in Kirk's eyes, and the cold resolve in Karlie's posture. As night fell, social media exploded anew. The clip of Karlie dropping that final receipt spread like wildfire. Fans on Twitter recut it into dozens of micro videos, each timed to land on the most gut-punch frame: Rashida's moment of disbelief, Kirk's silent stumble, Karlie's quiet satisfaction. Commentators declared it the most devastating moment in the show's history, while blogs speculated on whether Kirk's marriage had any chance of survival. Meanwhile, backstage, Kirk and Rashida were ushered to a small, private lounge. Space offset. Producers wanted to give them an immediate opportunity to address the fallout in a more controlled environment. Karlie was invited, but politely declined. She had done her part. This was now Kirk and Rashida's moment to reckon. Inside the dimly lit room, Rashida sat at a round table. The manila envelope closed on the surface in front of her. Kirk entered, closing the door gently behind him. No cameras, no lights. Just one producer sitting quietly off to the side. Kirk took a deep breath. "I'm sorry," he said, voice thick. "I know I hurt you more than anything else ever has." Rashida's shoulders shook. She looked at the envelope. "I don't even know if I can trust that apology," she whispered. "You've given me reasons to doubt you for so long." Kirk reached for the envelope. "I want you to have these," he said. "All of them." He opened his jacket and pulled out a stack of new documents, more flight records, receipts from dinners, and unedited voice memos. Rasheeda, single quotes, eyes widened. "You kept more?" she asked, shock and pain mingling in her tone. Kirk nodded, eyes downcast. "I wanted you to see the full picture, even the parts Karlie didn't have." He swallowed. "I want you to know I'm owning every mistake." The room was silent except for Rashida's ragged breathing. She took the papers from Kirk's hand but didn't open them immediately. "Why now?" she asked softly. "Why bring more receipts after everything?" Kirk looked up. "Because truth needs context," he said. "Not just a few scenes. You deserve the full story." Rashida's gaze shifted from Kirk to the envelope. She opened it slowly, flipping through pages. The room seemed to hold its breath. First, another hotel receipt, this one for an out-of-state stay. Kirk had listed it as a business expense. The next page, a series of rideshare invoices at 2 a.m., the final page. A voicemail transcript where Kirk's voice said, "I know I messed up, but I need you to hear me." Rashida's hand trembled as she put down the papers. She looked at Kirk, tears in her eyes. "This changes everything," she said quietly. Kirk nodded. "I hope it does." They sat in silence for a moment, two people staring at the wreckage. of their relationship laid out in black and white. Then Rashida closed the envelope with a firm snap. "I need time to process," she said, standing up. "I can't just forgive and forget." Kirk rose too. "I understand," he replied. "I'll wait as long as it takes." They left the room together but walked side by side, a fragile peace between them. Cameras remained off, but production staff watched from the hallway. Knowing this private reconciliation would shape every future scene. The next morning, filming resumed, but with a new plan. Producers decided to film a series of solo confessionals capturing raw, unfiltered reflections from every major cast member. Karlie's part had been clear. She'd done her duty. Now, fans wanted to see how each person processed what Karlie had exposed. First, Rashida walked into the confessional. She looked tired but steadier than before. Without any melodrama, she spoke directly to the camera. "I've spent weeks torn between who I love and what I deserve," she said, voice steady. "Every time I looked at Kirk, I saw 100 reasons to stay and 100 more to leave. But I made a promise to myself, no more shadows." She paused. "It's time to decide if this marriage can be rebuilt, brick by brick, truth by truth." Editors flagged that clip as a highlight for the upcoming episode, knowing fans would hang on every word. Then it was Kirk's turn. He sat down, shoulders squared, the tone different from his earlier raw admission. He spoke with quiet resolve. "I've been a man running from my mistakes," he said, "but hiding from the light only made the shadows grow. I want to be a husband who chooses transparency every day." His confession ended with an apology to Rashida and to their children, promising to let his actions speak louder than any words. Fans later commented that it was one of the most sincere apologies they'd heard on the show. Next, Bambi's confessional explored the ripple effects of Karlie's actions on the wider friend group. She admitted guilt over staying silent for so long, calling herself a bystander in Rashida's pain. She vowed to be a better friend, name-checking Karlie for having the courage to break the story open. Then Spice recorded her thoughts, drawing parallels between the family drama on screen and her own experiences. She praised Karlie's bravery, but warned about the cost of exposure. "Sometimes truth is painful," she said, "but it's the only path to healing." As the crew pieced these confessionals together, internet chatter surged. Memes popped up with Karlie's steely gaze and Rashida's tears. Podcasts debated whether Kirk's redemption arc could succeed. Fan polls tracked sentiments. Most sided with Rashida. Many admired Karlie, and a smaller group felt Kirk was being unfairly judged amid the fan frenzy. The producers dropped a teaser for the next episode, a montage of tearful confrontations, solemn confessions, and tense silences punctuated by the caption, "Truth is only the beginning." Back on set, Kirk and Rashida filmed a tentative joint seen as simple conversation over coffee in the cast lounge. No notes from producers, no scripted lines. Just two people trying to find common ground. "I want to trust you again, Rashida," said after a long sip. Kirk reached out, hesitating before brushing his fingers against hers. "I'll earn it," he replied softly. The camera captured that small gesture. Handshake of hope, and the set staff breathed a collective sigh. Fans watching that clip online called it the most hopeful moment of the season. As filming wrapped for the day, Karlie stood alone on the empty stage, reflecting. She texted Rashida, "We did it." Rashida's reply came almost instantly. "Thank you." In the coming days, more rumors surfaced. Some claimed Karlie had ulterior motives. Others tipped that new receipts might appear, suggesting there were deeper layers to Kirk's secrets. Production listened to those whispers, preparing to pivot the storyline again if needed. Through it all, one thing remained constant: the power of that last receipt Karlie dropped. It had changed lives, reshaped relationships, reminded everyone that on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, truth was the most compelling drama of all. Karlie's brunch toast still echoed in the air. When production shut down for the day, the lot emptied. Quickly afterward, but inside the editing bays, the screens glowed late into the night. Editors hunched over timelines, listening to microphones capture every quiver of Rashida's voice, every falter in Kirk's apology, every steely resolve. In Karlie's declaration, each clip was tagged "Must Air Priority Fan Reaction Clip," as though they were curating evidence in a courtroom rather than crafting reality TV. Meanwhile, Rashida slipped away from the lot to a rented loft a few miles away. She needed isolation, but not loneliness, so she invited a handful of close friends, Spice, Mimi, and Bambi. They arrived quietly, bearing food and support. The vibe was intimate, the kind of gathering not meant for cameras. Rashida closed the door behind them and sank onto a velvet couch, tears welling again despite her earlier strength. Spice knelt beside her, offering a comforting shoulder. "You did what you had to," Spice whispered. Mimi passed around soft. "Blankets, we've got your back," Mimi said, voice gentle. Bambi placed a hand over Rashida's. "You decide the next step," Bambi reminded her. Rashida nodded, drawing strength from their solidarity. Back on set, Kirk found himself alone in the production office, leafing through the notebook of promises he'd jotted down. He'd written detailed plans, frank conversations every morning, therapy sessions twice a week, daily check-ins with Rashida, all in small, careful handwriting. He stared at the pages, wondering if ink on paper could ever amount to a foundation strong enough to rebuild trust. His phone buzzed with messages, his children asking for dinner, business associates scheduling meetings, but Kirk ignored them all. He needed to focus on one conversation, the one with Rashida that hadn't happened yet on camera. Editors reached out to Kirk's manager, requesting a brief on-camera update. Would he participate in an upcoming group dinner scene? His manager responded that Kirk was willing, but only if he could speak freely, unscripted. Producers hesitated, and scripted moments were gold, but they also risked going off the rails. After a tense meeting, they agreed. Kirk would join one. More group dinner at an upscale Atlanta bistro known for private rooms. The scene would be shot documentary style, no cues, no prompts, just raw interaction. On filming day, the cast arrived in small taxis, dressed casually yet coordinated in muted tones. The restaurant's private room walls were covered in dark, wood-framed black and white photographs of Atlanta's music legends. A long table awaited them, set for 6. At the head was Rashida, resplendent in a simple wrap dress, her eyes shadowed but determined. Opposite her sat Kirk, chin resting on his hand, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. Karlie and Bambi flanked, Rashida on one side, Spice and Mimi on the other. The cameras rolled as servers brought bread baskets and water carafes. The first moments were awkward. Cast members fidgeted, avoiding eye contact as forks clinked against plates. The silence stretched until Mimi cleared her throat. "This feels like a family dinner," she said softly. "But the elephant in the room is huge." Her words broke the tension like a hammer. Rasheeda drew in a breath. "We've been here before," she said, looking at Kirk. "But this is the first time it's truly down to us, him, me, and the receipts." She tapped, the envelope subtly placed by her plate. Kirk's fingers twitched at the mention. He nodded, swallowing hard. "I brought something too," Kirk said, reaching into his blazer. He produced a small box of printed voicemails, video, transcripts from friends who'd tried to warn him, from business calls where he'd slipped and admitted the affair. The camera zoomed into Rashida's face as she watched him lay them on the table. "I want you to have the whole story," he said, voice raw, nothing left out. Tears surfaced in Rashida's eyes, but she forced a smile. "Thank you for trying, Kirk," she said. "We'll work through it." Her voice was firm, betraying both hope and caution. Bambi reached across and set her hand over Rashida's. "We're here for you," Bambi said, looking around at the group. "No judgment, just love." Karlie leaned back, studying Kirk. "This is huge," she said quietly. "But words aren't enough." She tapped her own folder of receipts on the table's edge for emphasis. Action speaks louder. The dinner progressed with careful conversation about setting new boundaries. Hiring a counselor, transparency apps to share locations, regular check-ins during lunch. Fans watching later online broke down each suggestion, debating which solutions felt genuine or gimmicky. As the meal concluded, Kirk stood and asked for a moment to speak. The room quieted. He paced slowly around the table, hands clasped. "I know I squandered your trust," he began, looking directly at Rashida. "I hurt you, our family, our friends. I'm not expecting immediate forgiveness. But I promise this, every day I will choose honesty. I'll be accountable. I'll let you see my world, no secrets. If you want proof, my phone is open. My accounts are open." He stepped closer, voice low but clear. "I choose you." Rashida's lips trembled. She looked around at her support, Karlie's unwavering gaze, Bambi's nod, Spice's tear-bright eyes, Mimi's encouragement. Then she turned. Back to Kirk, she rose, walking to stand face to face. "I hear you," she said, voice shaking but strong. "And I'm willing to see." She reached out and took his hand. "But if I ever see shadows again, this is over." Kirk squeezed her hand, relief and resolve evident. The cameras lingered as they embraced a hug that signified both forgiveness and caution, a fragile truce. When the scene wrapped, crew applauded softly, acknowledging the emotional feat. Producers captured off camera smiles and tears, knowing this footage would be a ratings powerhouse while also sincerely impacting viewers. That night, Rashida posted a black and white photo of the two of them on her personal Instagram, not the show's account, but her private one. It showed their joined hands resting on the table, enveloped by scattered receipts. Her caption read simply, "Truth builds stronger foundations." Fans flooded the comments with support. "Proud of you. This gives me hope. Real love is choosing each other every day." Karlie's own page remained silent, but she liked Rashida's post, her username showing up in followers' feeds as a subtle but meaningful endorsement. Meanwhile, Kirk held a separate conversation with his manager about securing a spot on a daytime talk show to address the scandal publicly outside the reality TV frame. His manager was cautious but interested. A framed public apology could be a way to control the narrative beyond the show. Back on campus, cast members met for a brief debrief. Producers asked for one final round of quick confessionals, Yandi included, offering her perspective from the sidelines. Mimi reflecting on the power of female solidarity. And Bambi, who still felt the weight of her own earlier silence. Each confessional added nuance. Yandi stressed the importance of boundaries. Mimi highlighted forgiveness's complexity, and Bambi pledged to never turn away when a friend needed her voice. As the week wrapped, the mid-season trailer dropped, edited to a stirring piano soundtrack. It opened with Karlie placing the last receipt on the table, cut to Rashida's stunned expression, then Kirk's tearful, kneeling apology. Its text on screen read, "When truth comes calling, no one is safe." Fans responded with thousands of comments, calling it the most gripping trailer ever. "I'm hooked. And can they survive this?" Like hashtag last receipt and hashtag RASHEE strong trended for days. In the days that followed, sponsors and advertisers began lining up for product placement. Some cautious, some eager to align with the show's renewed authenticity. Network execs held meetings projecting that season 13 would become one of the franchise's highest-rated runs. Thanks in large part to Karlie's bold move and the emotional fallout that followed. Yet behind the scenes, Rashida and Kirk understood that the show's cameras were just the beginning. Rebuilding trust would take real work, private therapy sessions, transparent finances, and constant communication. They had chosen a public path to healing, inviting cameras into their most vulnerable moments. But the real battle would continue. In hallways, therapists, offices, and quiet nights at home. Karlie. watched from her trailer as the storm she'd unleashed settled into a cautious calm. She typed a message to Rashida, "Thank you for seeing it through." Rashida's reply popped up, "Thank you for speaking." Their friendship, tested by the wreckage of secrets, had emerged stronger and unexpected silver lining in the season's darkest chapter. As the set lights dimmed and the lot went dark, the echoes of truth lingered. Receipts had been dropped, confessions made, and a family changed forever. Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Season 13 would chart new territory in reality TV drama where real lives, real pain, and real healing played out for a world watching, wondering, and ultimately believing that truth, no matter how painful, could indeed change everything. Now that you've seen Karlie drop that final receipt and watched Rashida and Kirk navigate the wreckage of lies, what do you think comes next? Is this bold exposure the fresh start Rashida needs? Or did it push her too far? Can Kirk's promises and open book approach really rebuild the trust he shattered? Or will the weight of those receipts keep pulling them under? And what about Karlie? Did her role as truth teller help save a marriage? Or is she the one who lit the fuse for bigger explosions? We want to hear your take. Are you rooting for Rashida's new chapter, standing by Kirk's redemption, or applauding Karlie for having the guts to leave nothing hidden? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Which side are you on, and what moment hit you hardest? If Rashida's tears, Kirk's apology, or Karlie's unwavering stare gave you chills, let us know. If you're as hooked on this season as we are, give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for every episode breakdown and exclusive behind-the-scenes scoop. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a twist, because on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, the next revelation could be around the corner, and trust us, you don't want to blink. The ladders of trust have been kicked away once again on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and this time it's Karlie Redd who's holding the key to Kirk Frost's entire secret world. Sources on set say Karlie walked in with a final envelope. What? Insiders are calling her last receipt, and laid it on the table with a quiet, determined look that stopped everyone in their tracks. Fans are already calling it the moment that rewrote the rules, the proof nobody saw coming, the evidence Kirk thought he had buried forever. Whispers turned to gasps as Karlie flipped open the envelope, revealing messages, bookings, and even audio clips that paint a picture of a double life more intricate than anyone imagined. Rashida was reportedly left speechless, tears threatening to fall as the cast froze in stunned disbelief. And while Kirk sat across from her, he didn't flinch. He just stared at the table like he was bracing for the final blow. Now the internet is on fire, with fans shouting, "This changes everything," across social media threads. Was this Karlie's moment of truth? Or did she push things too far? Stay tuned, because what we're hearing could redefine every relationship. On the show, the crew was just finishing up a routine scene when Karlie Redd stepped onto the lot with a quiet confidence no one expected. It wasn't the usual playful sass or dramatic strut she often brought to the show. Was different. Her eyes were steady, her posture unshakable, and in her hand, she held a simple manila envelope that seemed to carry the weight of the world. Whispers rippled through the cast as she made her way to the lounge area where Kirk Frost sat talking quietly with Bambi. Rashida hovered nearby, face calm but eyes guarded, as if sensing the storm about to break. Karlie didn't pause. She walked straight to the center of the room and placed the envelope on the coffee table with deliberate precision. The thud of it landing echoed in the sudden silence. Kirk looked up, brow furrowing, while Bambi's hand flew to her mouth. Rashida took a step forward, her gaze locking onto the envelope as though it had suddenly become radioactive. Without a word, Karlie opened it and pulled out the first Documenta photograph. It showed Kirk standing next to a woman neither Rashida nor any of the cast had ever seen. Not touching, but the way the bodies angled toward each other suggested a familiarity too close for innocuous conversation. She held it up for everyone to see. "This isn't just gossip," Karlie said softly, voice cutting through the tension. "This is proof." As the camera captured every reaction, Rashida's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widening. Kirk leaned forward, hands resting, on his knees, as if bracing for impact. The rest of the cast circled around, forming a loose ring. Curiosity and dread mixed in their expressions. Karlie laid down more papers, flight itineraries for trips Kirk had never mentioned, hotel receipts under an alias, and a printed screenshot of text messages that hinted at late-night rendezvous. Each paper she placed felt like another brick in the wall, closing in on Kirk's carefully constructed facade. "I got these weeks ago," she continued, "but I held on to them. Thought maybe it wasn't my place. But after what I saw in the trailer, I realized some truths deserve the light." Rashida's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away, trying to stay composed. "Karlie, why are you doing this here?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why now?" Karlie met her gaze. "'Cause you deserve to know, Rashida. You deserve the truth before anyone else." Kirk's lip quivered, but he didn't speak. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of equipment being set down around them. Bambi cleared her throat. "This is a lot," she said, voice soft. "We need to be careful how we handle it." But Karlie shook her head. "No more waiting. Not after last night's footage. Not after Rashida left the set in tears. This changes everything." Words sent a shiver through the room. Fans online had already started piecing together rumors. But seeing it play out live made it impossible to pretend it was just drama for ratings. The tension felt disturbingly real. Mimi, who'd been watching from the side, stepped forward. "We need context," she urged. "Let's hear from Kirk." Kirk swallowed, standing slowly. He looked at each paper, then at Rashida, then back at Karlie. His voice came out low. I didn't want you to see this." He glanced at Rashida. "I never meant for it to get like this." "Then explain," Rashida whispered, voice tight. "Explain why my husband's life is up for public display right now." Kirk's eyes flicked to Karlie, then back to Rashida. "I thought I could keep things separate. My mistakes from my marriage, but I was wrong." Rashida's shoulders shook. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she stared at Kirk. "But you lied to me," she said, voice breaking. "Like you lied to our kids." Karlie watched, expression unreadable. She didn't celebrate. She simply observed the truth unfold. As Kirk stood there, head bowed, the cast drifted closer. Rashida sank to her knees, folding into herself as the emotional weight became too much. Crew members hovered, unsure whether to intervene, but production let the moment play out. Reality TV had captured raw moments before, but this felt different. It was unfiltered heartbreak. Kirk knelt beside Rashida, gently touching her shoulder. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I'm so sorry." Her tears fell freely now,